Max.
There we go. What's up?
What's up, bro?
What's going on?
Max. Dude, we were zenning out too. In fact, I'm gonna share my screen with you for a half second so you know what we were doing. We were all freaking in his own.
Dude, we are being like the samurais.
We are allowing the blade to do the cutting.
I got some stuff, like family, marriage, all that stuff. And it's like, just like all of us have stuff in our lives. And instead of the common belief is to just like you have to attack stuff head on. You need to be aggressive. You need to fight. And it's like, no, taking the power back is often just being like the samurai and just being at peace, removing the toxic stuff out of your life, removing it, let it be in God's hands, let the blade do the cutting, removed from the drama.
Yes, and that's what a samurai warrior does. And what we're fabricating here in the States is Zen warriors. A Zen warrior operates like a samurai warrior and allows the blade to do the cutting and stands for truth and righteousness, and yet operates from the most powerful energy in the universe, aligned with universal consciousness, with the divine creator, allowing love to prevail. Now, being a lover doesn't mean you get walked all over, dude. If you need to slice and dice to get through, you slice and dice to get through, you rise up, Zen warriors. That's what we're calling for, dude. And of course, we have the one and only Max Hall on the Daniel and the Den
Special
podcast,
guest in the
bro.
building.
Dang.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Talk about a Zen warrior. This dude is the Zen warrior of all freaking Zen warriors. I gotta get this screen back up. And man, dude,
There we go.
thank you for being here, bro. I
Yeah,
know you,
man. This is going to be fun.
you haven't, I know you told me that you've have kind of been disciplined to say no to these, so I appreciate you making an exception for me, dude. It makes me feel special, bro. Seriously, I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's no big deal. You know how sometimes in life you just need to simplify a little bit when you get rolling and you just got so much stuff going on.
Yes.
I just needed a break, but it's been a while since I've done one, so I'm gonna do one. I'm gonna do it with my guy DP, dude. So
Dude, thank
why
you.
not?
Bro. Thank you, man.
I
Thank
love
you.
it.
This is amazing. Well, I know you haven't met Chris, so I want to, do a brief intro with
What's up, Chris?
Chris Schlierman.
So
Dude is a divine Zen warrior himself who good Lord sent into my life a couple of years ago. Briefly met him, and then on 5/23 kind of re-engaged with him, and it's been really cool to see all these things that the Almighty's been telling me I was going to be doing, and ever since I met him, it just is like exploded into what we're now doing. We're like moving the ball forward, launching this podcast. It's got a background. In fact, give a quick background on how did you get brought into this whole world? Do a little quick round of intros.
born and raised Los Angeles, California. I watched you when I was a kid play against my hometown team of UCLA
Oh, really?
in
Nice.
the Rose Bowl.
Nice.
And then the next year, you crushed my heart and spirit, beating them 59-0. You crushed my heart and spirit.
Yeah, boy.
Sorry about that.
Go Cougs, baby.
I was born and raised about a 10-minute drive away from the UCLA campus. That's my stomping grounds.
You were raised right there by the Rose Bowl?
No, so the UCLA campus,
Oh, the campus. Got
like
you.
the actual
Okay.
campus. But
Yeah.
I went out to the Rose Bowl lots of times to watch games. My dad was a BYU dude, born, straight up. I went to BYU, did the BYU sports scene and whatnot himself back in the 70s. He's an OG Cougar.
Nice.
And yeah, I started my career actually in Los Angeles in the tech scene. Went out and did consulting, small business stuff myself, built a couple startups myself in Utah, was there for 6 years. Came down to Arizona with my wife, who's from here, born and raised Mesa, went to Mesa High. Sixth generation Arizonan.
One of those jackrabbits, bro. Dang, dude.
She's a sixth generation Arizonan. Family's been here since the 1800s, and kind of stayed here and
Dude, we tie back little tidbit on his wife's
Mhm.
family, ties back to
yeah, they're related.
yeah, we go back to St. John's, dude. The Udalls and what's her
Isaacson.
Isaacsons were early settlers of St. John's. Um, so anyways, it's been kind of crazy to see all these like random
Yeah.
connections and ties that brought us together. And ultimately, like I told you, when I called you about this, like the whole concept of this Daniel and the Den podcast is to
Mhm.
highlight the divine creator. Call that divine creator what you want to call him, God, Heavenly Father, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, creator, whatever, source. But to highlight that in our lives, right? And to be authentic with who we are and how we got to where we are, and to be able to identify and see the hand of the Almighty, um, leading and guiding and allowing things to be. And because we believe in this, dude, we believe in true freedom, right? And we believe that we as a society have succumbed to this mental slavery. We're
Almighty
about to
dollar.
emancipate ourselves from mental slavery and stop worshiping the almighty dollar, right? This false god that we've been all chasing. And it's like, no, we want to bring it back to what really matters, and create a movement of what we call connected consciousness, right? Uniting our hearts and our minds, and being able to have people like yourself who've gone through life, man. You've lived it, gone through the ringer,
Yeah.
and been on some highs and some lows, and but you stand for everything that this podcast is all about, which is to be a gritty Zen warrior, and to push through in those moments of heaviness and darkness, and strive to be free. So,
Because that's what life's all about, man.
amen,
If
Dude,
you're
so
not happy and free, might have all the money in the world, but what does that matter?
dude. Amen to
seriously,
that, brother.
So I love what
we
you
want
guys
to
are doing. This is cool.
Thank you.
love it. So we want to start with your background, man. Let's start with like childhood Max Hall, man. Let's talk about that.
Oh, I love this
And then
guy.
what? And
Yes.
then
Or are we rolling already? I
We're
thought we
rolling,
were just
bro.
we're
We're
starting.
rolling. So I want to. We
I need
want.
Absolutely.
to sound more professional like that.
No, dude, no. This thing is,
No.
this is the thing about Daniel the Den, dude. It is authentic, bro. It is what it
There
is.
isn't like anything weird with us, dude. It just flows to conversation. We start with your childhood, and if we get through your life, cool. But like if the conversation gets off path,
We
cool.
just go with the flow,
We
man.
go with the flow and we let the conversation be what be, because whatever the message that you say today is the message that the people need to hear.
Amen.
Love it. Hey, yeah, let's jump in, man. So yeah, just kind of I think like Danny, you were born and raised in Mesa, right?
Absolutely.
You're right there. So I think our families have been connected for a long time, the Perkinsons and the Halls. And Brian, Danny's cousin, is married to my sister. So and then Spencer was one of my best friends growing up, and still is one of my best friends. And I met Danny along the way and playing golf, whatever, man. So we've known each other a long time, and the families have. And my family, the White family, has been, from my mom's side, has been in Mesa for a long time. And so yeah,
Mm.
I was born and raised there, to a great family. I got a great mom and dad. I'm the oldest of five siblings, three little sisters, and then a little brother. And had a great childhood, man. I mean, I really couldn't complain. I was raised right. I was happy. I was playing sports. I was playing the piano, singing in choir, doing it all, right?
Doing
So
all the stuff. Yeah.
yeah, we were one of those families that, probably stemming from my grandma, because she used to do this with my Uncle Danny, is I'd be sitting there in my football pants finishing my piano lessons before I could go to football practice, right? So
Yes.
tried to keep us well-rounded. And I
Yeah.
had a
Love it.
father. I love my dad, and he's always tried to teach me to, be a man of God, but at the same time, go compete and earn everything that you get. And coached me all growing up in sports. And the Halls do have a little bit of a temper to them. So, my dad never let me win at anything, whether that was chess or basketball or whatever. So, and then growing up with kind of some older cousins, it was just, you know, I kind of grew up competing my whole life and fell in love with it really. And I think that helped me be successful later on in sports. But yeah, had a great experience growing up, had a great time in high school, had a great group of friends, played ball. I thought I was going to be a basketball player my whole life, and ended up being able to throw a football better than I could shoot a basketball. And plus, I didn't get the height that I needed to play basketball, right? So,
What is your height?
what was that?
What is your height?
I'm 6'2".
6'2", yeah, maybe not basketball, but quarterback for sure. You can quarterback.
Yeah, and playing at Mountain View High School, and Danny knows this too. When you get to high school and you play for a program like Mountain View, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of expectations from the coaches, from the community, from the school, everything. And started off playing with a coach that had been pretty abusive to a lot of the guys. To
Namely,
say-
his current brother-in-law and well, current, hopefully forever and always, but his
yeah,
brother-in-law and my cousin. So
Oh, Brian Burke.
yeah, Brian
yeah,
and
BP, and
they had it out. So
yeah, he was pretty harsh, man. And it just like, I remember, there's so many stories I have of just us fighting and getting screamed at and being nervous before games to make a mistake. Guys throwing up in the locker room before the game, they're so nervous. And if even if we won a game and the coach didn't feel like we did good enough, we'd be on the practice field running after the game, sort of a deal. So it was a very kind of military, hard-nosed
Yeah.
situation. And it's different. I'm a coach now, and I feel like I have great relationships with my players, and I help them with stuff outside of football. It wasn't like that back then. You were scared when coach walked in the room. It was like
Yeah.
you stood up tight, and everybody got quiet. It was just kind of a
Yeah.
different deal than it is now.
because oh yeah, burn yeah.
But the problem is I think what that did to a lot of us, because a lot of my friends ended up having a lot of issues after high school. And I think when you're brought up in an environment like that, you don't share your feelings, you don't share your concerns, you gut it up, you suck it up, you be tough, and that's just kind of how we were. We were tough, fighting, rough dudes. And so you learn how to internalize stuff and be a man, and I guess quote unquote, and deal with it. And the problem is I think a lot of us eventually learned how to deal with it through substance abuse. And so I remember kind of the end of my senior year. I never had any issues with any substance or anything like that. I was a good kid through high school. And I found out towards the end of the senior year that a lot of my good friends were drinking and using drugs. And that was a huge shock to me, kind of growing up in an LDS culture where, not a lot of that was going on. That kind of was a shock to me. And so I remember the first time I ever tried anything was with my friends, and they were trying to get me to take some. I never would. And I finally gave in and I took some. And it was eye-opening for me because it was opiates. It was Percocet that they were doing. And Oxycontin is really what it was at the time. And, I never had a problem with it till later in life, but the problem that happened is the way I explain it, there's three type of people in this world when it comes to especially opiates. When you take it, is the first person usually kind of makes you sick, makes you nauseous, throw up. The second person knocks you out, you fall asleep. And the third person, which is me, is you go, oh, this is the best feeling in the entire world, because all that stress, all that internal stuff going on just went away, and I was at peace and my body was warm and I was high. And I wasn't worried about anything anymore. I wasn't stressed out about anything anymore. And for me, that's kind of how it hooks you, right? And so it was something that kind of happened on the weekends or whatever, and I never really had an issue with it, right? But I'll get to where I did have an issue down the road. But it's important that you know that that was the first time I tried it and had that experience and had that feeling. But so, but after high school, I was really blessed to have an opportunity to go play football. I mentioned the white side of my family. You go to ASU's football stadium, you see my grandpa, my uncle got their jerseys and number retired in the stadium. Danny White and Whizzer White, so running back and legendary guys at ASU, and that's where I always wanted to go play. So out of high school, I decided to go play at ASU, and to be honest with you, just partied my ass off for a semester while I was there at ASU. I worked hard. I got up every morning and worked hard and did good there. But man, that was a big time party scene, right?
It still is. It's a party
It
school,
still
man.
is, man.
You know, it's a party school.
And so, yeah, but I was able to do what I needed to do and talk to my church leaders and go on a mission. So I served a mission for the church. But when I came back, I had a crucial decision to make in my life. And I remember sitting down with my dad, and he says, Max, if you go back to ASU, you're going to go right back down that path that you were going down while you were there. And that's a very slippery slope. And a lot of people don't know this, but oddly enough, I had made the decision that I was done playing football. I was going to move on in life. I was going to go take some classes at MCC and, just kind of start working on my degree and go from there. And about a week later, I get a call from a BYU coach, Paul Tidwell. And he says, hey, Max, because I came home early from my mission. I didn't serve the full 2 years. I came home early. And so that's like one part of my story that I don't like talking about, but I will say I came home early, and that's why this decision
Real and raw,
was really important to make. And I didn't want to go back to that lifestyle. So BYU coach calls me and says, Max, we heard you're home. We still got a spot for you at BYU, because BYU had also offered me at a high school. And I went back to my dad and I said, dude, if I'm going to keep playing, that's the atmosphere I need to be in, right? Surrounded by good teammates, good coaches that are going to keep me on track. So I decided to transfer up to BYU kind of in that same time. I met my wife, Kenzie, went up to BYU, proposed to her a few months later, and we got married near Christmas time, after my first semester. So being married and being at BYU was two of the best decisions of my life, because it kept me out of trouble. It kept me focused and allowed me to really excel being a quarterback there. And so I always tell people that those years I had at BYU were obviously some of the best years of my life, not just because of the football part of it, but just living with my wife and running out of money with, a week left in the month and trying to figure out how we're going to get food. And you know what I mean? Just kind of living that life of money didn't matter. All that mattered was my relationship with my wife and my teammates and playing football and going to school. Life was kind of complicated, but simple. You know what I mean? Like, I was happy. I was doing things that I loved. And, that was a really good time for me. And then, I was lucky enough to have a good team around me and had a lot of success at BYU. I was, still hold records there and am still considered one of the best players to go through BYU. And
oh yeah, you are. Oh yeah,
So
you
fun to
are.
watch you, bro. It was so fun to watch you. Those days were awesome.
yeah,
That's
dude,
what- man.
Again, you crushed my hopes and my dreams as a kid. Watching you blank my school, you didn't just beat them, dude. You beat
Blanked 'em.
them down.
Ranked them. Dude, some of those Utah games too, bro. Man, still go down. Dude,
Yeah.
Beck. How cool is that? That you and Johnny Beck have some of the most epic wins against the Utes. That was iconic.
After you guys left, Utah went on a freaking tear.
They did because of my curse, I mean, that Maxall curse that everybody talks about. So what that is, so John Beck has a last minute play with no time on the clock, throws a touchdown pass to Johnny Harline to win the game, right?
Yeah.
Next year, my sophomore year, this is kind of a crazy story, is we're losing with about a minute, I think it was a minute 12 left in the game. And first down incompletion, second down incompletion, third down sack fumble. I recovered it. So now it's 4th and 18 from our own 12-yard line going out.
Mm.
And the whole stadium's just quiet. I mean, you can hear, you can't, I mean, it's just silent in this stadium. And I look over at the coordinator and he's just like, he goes like this, which is a sign for just 4 verts, like throw it deep, you know? And I'm like, okay, you know, like here we go. So I happened to signal like a stutter and go to my receiver,
Mhm.
Austin Collie. And I remember I took my drop and I kind of had to step up and get out of the pocket. And right when that happened, that DB kind of bit for whatever reason on that stutter. And I was playing in that game with a 3rd-degree separated shoulder. So my collarbone was not connected to my AC joint. It was sticking up out of my skin. So they had to tape it down and then shoot it up. And so when I threw that ball to Austin, I threw it as far as I could and it maybe went 40, 45 yards, man. Like a lot of people don't know I was playing in that game with a separated throwing shoulder. So anyway, that's kind of a famous play. We go down and score, beat them, and then they beat the crap out of us my junior year. And then my senior year, we beat them in overtime. I threw a pass in overtime that we scored on to beat them. But after the game, I kind of went on a rant. So I said that I hated Utah, that they were classless, send them home, like blah, blah, blah. I'm talking crap after the deal because the year before my junior year, when they beat us, man, they were talking a lot of crap. When I came out of the locker room to see my family, they were all huddled up together and they were throwing food and beer cans and all kinds of stuff at them. And I took that pretty personal. So I went off after the game my senior year. And so the curse was that since I went off, the curse was that BYU didn't win for like another 10 years against Utah. So I don't know if it's a curse or not, but it was I had a lot of great memories, special moments, but I also tried to do my best to embrace it, you know, like that the fame and people wanting your autograph and wanting to talk to you and be on shows and speak. I spoke at so many events, not just for the church, but youth groups and little league teams and all kinds of stuff. And I really tried to embrace that and do as much as I could. Because I had an experience as a kid where I went to a Phoenix Suns practice and Kevin Johnson was my favorite player, KJ, man.
Yes,
So
KJ,
I was
bro.
so excited to get KJ's autograph when I got there. I had my paper and pen, and after practice, he came running. I'm KJ, and he ran right by me to the locker room.
Oof,
I'm like,
crush.
heartbroken. And all of a
Yes.
sudden, I hear this. I say, hey, young man, come over here. And I look over, and it's Charles Barkley. I'm like, he's like, come here. And he
Freaking
throws me the
Barkley.
ball and he goes, let's see what you got. And I played one-on-one with Charles Barkley for like 20 minutes after practice.
So,
So
Dude.
my new favorite player is, right? Charles
yes,
Barkley. So
Dude,
I always
Barkley.
told myself if I was going to be in a situation like that, I was going to be Charles Barkley, not KJ.
there we
So
go.
I tried to just give back as much as I could, and
Mm.
the fans were receptive in the community and just BYU. And I just, man, I'll cherish those years forever just because of what BYU gave me as well. So just some good times, man. So sorry about the Bruins though, you know.
Dude, you know what? I ended up coming about 10 years later. I came to a realization UCLA sucks trash. Pretty much all the sports except for basketball. There's been some good years. So no harm, no foul. I don't really
Well,
have a college that I assign with these
that's
days.
so good. Hey,
UCLA.
I'll tell you why though. So my sophomore year, my first year as a starter, my second game I ever played in, we played UCLA in the Rose Bowl.
Yes, I watched
They
that game
they
live.
blitzed the crap out of me and hit the crap out of me all game long, and we lost that game. And I
Mhm.
barely walked off the field after that game. I was so beat up.
I watched that one live.
Yeah. You know some of the hits I took in that game. You guys had a really good line and just sent the house at me. I'm a
Yeah.
young quarterback. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Well, we ended up playing UCLA in the bowl game later that year, and we beat them by a game-winning field goal with no time left on the clock. So
Mhm.
going into my junior year, the game that you're talking about, UCLA is just running their mouth that it was a
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna silence you.
pissing me off right now. Let's go. So we had one of those games against UCLA that was just, we got a turnover, score, turnover, score. It was just like a back and forth deal. I mean, I didn't even play hardly in the second half and broke a lot of records in that game. But it's interesting how things come to pass, man. But so anyway, yeah, just don't consider yourself a UCLA fan anymore, man. So you're a Cougar, and let's
You're the
just
Cougar, bro. Let's go.
there, you know.
You know, so my dad is a Cougar, but my mom was a Ute, so I always kind of played you know, I can pick the sides. I can pick the sides, pick the angles. No, I appreciate that though. So, I mean, so growing up, it was you had to pick UCLA or USC. And I went to elementary school, middle school, and first year of high school with Ken Norton the third. His dad
Oh,
was Ken Norton Jr., who
yeah.
was the football coach with
Mhm.
USC. And I knew Ken Norton, you know, pretty well. I was really friends with them. And that dude would talk so much trash from a standpoint like USC. This is during their golden years. You know, this is like 2000, you know, 2 to 2000 and like 10 was like the
Okay.
show, right? And it
Yeah.
was I hated how much trash he talked that I was like, I will literally root for the exact opposite rival.
I get that. I can get behind that for sure.
I was all like, Reggie
Whoever you're
Bush,
for, I'm for the opposite.
Matt Leinart, all you guys can just jump off a cliff.
That's funny. They had an impressive team through those years too. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So anyway, I mean my BYU experience was phenomenal, and
I love it.
cherish those years. Um so I was able to go, I went to the NFL Combine and did that whole thing, and draft day was a brutal day for me. I had teams calling me saying, "Hey, we're going to take you in the fourth. We're going to take you in the fifth." No one ended up taking me, right? So I had three teams to choose from. I could go to Cincinnati, um, Tampa Bay, or Arizona Cardinals. And I said, well, I'm gonna go back home, get to play for the hometown team. So I ended up signing as a free agent with the Arizona Cardinals, and got to go play for them for 2 years. And kind of a crazy thing is, I got there as a four-string quarterback. I was basically an arm for mini camp, and my odds of making the team probably weren't very good. Um, and so I just kind of said to myself, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this moment. I'm standing out here on the practice field with, Larry Fitzgerald and Tim Hightower and Calais Campbell and Darnell Dockett. And I'm looking at all these dudes, Beanie Wells, and I'm just like, all these dudes that I've watched, and I'm out here with them right now. And, I still remember the first pass I ever threw to Larry. It was kind of a shallow cross route, and he reached up with one hand and grabbed it backhand and then just brought it back in and kept running. And I'm just like, this is insane,
Of course he did. He Larry Fitzgerald.
insane right now. And so, and then, I had a good conversation with Kurt Warner, and, because I was nervous, I wasn't going to make the team. And he goes, Max, here's the best advice I can give you. Work your butt off every day and you get better. Don't worry about what the other quarterbacks do, if they throw a touchdown or whatever. Just keep your head down, enjoy the moment, and get better every single day. Know your stuff. So that's what I did. And, sometimes I'd only get one, maybe two reps in practice. But I just tried to make that rep absolutely perfect. Even if it was a run play, I'd hand it off, I'd carry out my fake perfect, I'd make sure we were in the right check, whatever. And those plays started adding up, and I started getting more reps. And we go into the preseason, and they let me play the second half of the game versus Washington, where John Beck was at Washington at the time, so it was kind of fun. We got to kind of play against each other in a preseason game. That was pretty cool. But I ended up playing really well, and I got to play again in the fourth preseason game. And so after that, it came to cut day, where they got to cut it down to the 52 man, 53 man roster. And so I remember walking in to Coach Wisenhunt's office thinking, man, I hope they just keep me as a practice squad guy and I can be around, right? Matt Leinart was supposed to be the starter. They brought in Derek Anderson to be the backup. And then there was a guy they drafted named John Skelton, and then me. And as I was walking in, Matt Leinart came walking out, and normally Matt was really friendly to me, but he just kind of walked by me, and I was like, dang, like what's going on? And so Wiz sits me down and says, well, we just cut Matt Leinart. Derek Anderson's the starter. You're the number 2. I was like,
That's
all right, here we go. Like this is a great situation for me now. I'm a backup quarterback. Derek Anderson had been to a Pro Bowl. Like I went to DA and I'm just like, look, dude, you need coffee, donuts,
whatever
whatever you need, dude. I just want to learn. I just
Yeah.
want to learn. And all of a sudden, I think it was game 4. We're playing San Diego at San Diego, and DA wasn't playing so good. He'd overthrown a couple wide open touchdown passes, and see the team getting a little frustrated. And I just remember the quarterback coach, Chris Miller, walking over to me. He's got his headset on, and he's kind of looking away from me. He's not looking at me. And then all of a sudden he leans over and he goes, all right, Hall, you're in. And I said,
Game on.
like, it was literally one of those situations where I had to find my helmet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, are you kidding me? No warm-up throws, no nothing. Boom, I go jogging out there on the field. I get in the huddle and I look at those guys and I say, I don't know what kind of a podcast this is, but
Oh, this is authentic, bro. You say what you
said,
said.
I said, all right, motherfuckers, let's go down the score right now.
Let's go.
And they're
love
like looking at me, this little Mormon guy from BYU. They're like,
Dude,
yes. I'm
dude,
just
we've
like,
we've all been in locker rooms before, man. We've
yeah,
all been athletes in locker rooms. We know how we talk.
yeah. So
Come on.
apologize for that. But so, I mean, I finished the game. I played good. We ended up losing still, but we scored a couple times, came back a little bit. So they decided to start me the next week. So here I am, undrafted free agent rookie, week 5. I was the first undrafted free agent rookie to start a game since 1952.
That's
Mm.
badass.
It doesn't happen, right?
No.
Playing for the hometown team too.
Playing for the
Hometown team,
Yeah.
and we're playing the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees, they had just won a Super Bowl. So my first start in the NFL was against the Saints, who had just come off winning a Super Bowl. Drew Brees, just the whole thing, right? Drew Brees, one of my favorite quarterbacks. I'm like, I got to go play against Drew Brees right now. So it was a home game, and this is where my life starts to get interesting because of this game. We end up winning the game. Defense played lights out. I played good enough to win, and we end up winning the game. But there's a play right before halftime,
Remember it, bro.
from the 5-yard line. So, and I, what's funny is I still remember the play call. It was fix right, strong, nasty, Z short, 74 hot, white, turn X bison, special flat. That was the play call. And, my running back had lined up on the wrong side. He was supposed to run a flat route to the right. I dropped back. I was like, oh, flat's open, went to throw it to him. He wasn't there. So I took off scrambling off to the left, and I get down to the goal line, and I'm not going to slide at the goal line. I'm not going to, I'm a Mountain View Toro, man. I'm tough. I'm going to freaking get in there, and I'm going to. So I lowered my shoulder, and I just got tattooed by their middle linebacker and their strong safety. And boom, lights go out. Now, I have gotten my bell rung, and I've gotten concussions before, but I'd never been knocked out cold like this before. And I remember waking up. Larry Fitzgerald had picked me up, and he's kind of shaking me. And I'm like, what happened? And he goes, don't worry, man. Don't worry. We scored. And I'm thinking, I got in. You know what I'm saying? Like, sweet. Like, I got in and we scored. But what really happened is I fumbled, and the left tackle picked it up in the end zone for a touchdown. So I didn't know that till later. But we scored. So I remember going in at halftime. But you got to understand something here. The way I was raised, the way that I played the game, I had just become the starter for my hometown team, and they're asking me if I'm okay. And this is before the NFL concussion protocol and targeting and all this stuff. And so, of course, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm straight. Like, I'm good. So I went out, finished the game, actually played decent. I played pretty good in the second half. But I remember the next week, Monday in practice, man, I was forgetting plays at the line of scrimmage. And oh, look at the kids.
What's up, kiddos?
That's awesome.
We got some Ninos here. Hey, we're running a little podcast. And we got the whole crew coming. We go take Nala out.
Dude, we got the puppy and everything.
We got the puppy, we got the whole crew, and then we got the OG Jay. This is Chris's boy Jay.
What's up, Jay?
You're watching.
You
So
guys
Jay,
look
this is Max.
exactly alike.
Max. This dude's a homie, bro. Like this dude is like the most chill guy on the face of this planet.
He's all like, dude, I would have tackled you on the sideline. I would have tackled you on the sideline.
All right. So yes, continue though. So
Okay, so I mean, I'm like out of it at practice. I can't complete a pass. I can barely call the play in the huddle. And the coaches are like, bro, like, are you okay? And I just kept saying, I'm fine. The doctors went and checked me out. I knew how to fake a concussion protocol test. And it's one of the worst decisions I made as far as my NFL career, because I should have just said, no, I'm not good. Because I started a few more games and just didn't play well because I'm literally in games forgetting to play at the line of scrimmage. And then versus Seattle, we're up at Seattle, I get hit in the back and I get knocked out cold again. So now if you've had a traumatic brain injury or concussion before, there's a lot of stuff that comes with it, not just like the forgetfulness and all that, but depression set in, anxiety set in, fear, everything that comes with that. And I was just spinning. They now pull me. So they pulled me after like the first two series against Tampa Bay. And now I'm just like, I'm spiraling that maybe I just, lost my chance. But a few weeks later, they put me back in and I'm thinking, okay, let me get things rolling again versus the Rams. And that's when I dislocated my left shoulder. So I got sacked by their middle linebacker. The ball kind of went loose. I reached out to grab it. Dude came in and speared my shoulder, dislocated. And I remember they came out on the field. They had to yank it and pop it back in. And then I go to the locker room. And when I got to the locker room, I just started crying because I'm like, that's it. Like I'm done. I just dislocated my shoulder. I didn't play well. I don't know how this is going to go. Well, they sent me to a doctor, and the doctor, what did he give me? Right? Gave me Percocet. So oxycodone, which is, if you remember from high school, for me, that's the best feeling in the world. Yeah. So I'm taking this stuff and I take a 30-day supply in about 3 days. And because not only what it was doing for my physical pain, but for my mental and emotional pain, and I was just a mess, spiritual pain. But it numbed it out for me. And it made it to where I felt like I was okay. And I didn't have to deal with everything that was going on. And so when I ran out after 3 days, I just started calling old buddies and saying, hey, can you get more of this stuff for me? And it eventually from there became an everyday habit. And then I started abusing it in different ways, which led to heroin, which led to cocaine, to whatever I could get my hands on. Because at this point, I'm just trying to numb my life out. When in reality, my career wasn't really over, but now I'm a drug addict. Like, probably 6 months later, I'm a full out, I'm using every single day. And it's just it got really bad from there. I ended up dislocating my shoulder again in the next year in the preseason, but I guess you could say I was a functioning addict. Like I could still function and do everything and play, but I was losing weight. I was depressed, and addiction, there's a cool quote on addiction. I don't know exactly the author, but it says that addiction takes the soul of the addict and it breaks the hearts of everybody who loves him. And that's what it did, dude. It took my soul. So like my eyes were dark. I didn't even want to look to God. I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wouldn't answer my phone. I would ignore people. I just wanted to be left alone and just be high. And not deal with anything. So the addiction lasted on and off for about 5 years. Right. And, I eventually saw a doctor and got on a drug called Suboxone, which is something you can take to kind of, but for me, what Suboxone did was just hold me over so I wasn't in withdrawal until I could find more drugs. And then I would stop taking the Suboxone and use drugs again. So that's what it did for me. It didn't help heal anything. But you know, it was a very dark time in my life, and we had young kids, and I was lying and cheating, and not cheating, but lying and doing everything I could to find more drugs. Drugs was the first thing I thought about in the morning and the last thing I thought about at night. Nothing else really mattered until I got drugs. Then I could go do everything else, right? 5 years later, it eventually led to an arrest. So I woke up one morning, I'd done about an 8 ball of cocaine and about 300 milligrams of Oxycontin, and was just out of it, man. And was wandering around in a Best Buy and taking stuff off the shelves. And, you know, it's kind of funny. I can laugh at myself because I was like taking headphones out of the box and putting them on my head and just kind of like walking around in there, just like high as a freaking kite, man. And so Best Buy's like, what are you doing here? I was like, here's my credit card. I'll pay for whatever. And they're like, nah, we don't think so. Called the cops on me. So the cops come in. I remember begging the cop, like, please, this is going to ruin me. Like, you know, let me go and I'll pay for everything. It's fine. And, you know, but they ended up finding drug paraphernalia and a little bit of cocaine that I had left in there. And so they arrested me. And it was one of the lowest points of my life. When you're handcuffed, and I remember when they put me in the back of the police car and they slammed that door shut and boom, and then you're just sitting in that police car and it's quiet. And I just started crying because I'm like, it's over. I'm done. Like, that's it. I just ruined everything. I just lost everything right there. In my mind, I just lost my family. I just lost my friends, football. I just lost it all. And they took me down to the police station, and I remember the police officers making fun of me because they knew who I was. And you know, thinking they were giggling and thought it was so cool that they arrested me and they're gonna whatever. So took my mugshot, and then they actually let me go. They didn't even hold me overnight. And this is how powerful addiction can be. When they let me go, I remembered that I had another pill that was hidden in my wallet. And I was like, I wonder if they found that pill, and got my wallet out. They didn't find it, and I used again. Just like that, because I needed to numb that pain out. So the addiction had gotten such a grasp on me that I couldn't even see through getting an arrest, you know. It was like, yeah, my life's over. I might as well just keep using, I guess. So that happened on Saturday, and then Monday was a holiday. Tuesday morning, I remember I was kind of helping out coaching at a local high school, and I was at their practice in the morning, and one of the coaches came up to me and showed me a picture of my mugshot, and they're like, hey, someone's playing a prank on you. I don't know what this is, but like there's a thing going around saying you got arrested for drug possession. And I'm like, shit, like this just went public. And so I left the school. I was riding a bike at the time. I didn't have a driver's license. And I remember going to a grocery store parking lot somewhere over there, and I sat down on the curb, and you know, for the first time in my life, I was like, I don't know if life's worth living.
Mm.
You know, like I don't know if I want to go on. I don't. I might as well just maybe end things right now. And that was probably the lowest point of my life right there. And you know, I went from being this star football player for BYU, starting games in the NFL, starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, and you know, now I'm a drug addict, and just got arrested, and I just ruined everything, right? And it's funny because my whole life I felt like I was a fighter, I was a warrior, I would overcome adversity. if I got knocked down in a game, I was going to get back up faster than the D lineman that sacked me. I just played with a certain passion and grit, and nothing could hold me down. And for the first time really in my life, I got knocked down and I didn't want to get back up. It's just like I just wanted to kind of lay in my grave and end it. People were going to make fun of me. People didn't want anything to do with me anymore. I'm tagged now as this. And so I luckily answered a phone call from my mom. She came and got me, and we ended up getting me to a rehab, and I was able to figure my shit out and get things back on track. And I learned how to just own it. And I also learned who my real friends are and the people that really matter to me in life. And you know, have been good since, but it's been a lot of work on myself because I hated myself for a long time. I couldn't look at myself, the shame, the guilt that came with it, the destruction and the pain that I caused. Just it was really hard. I was lucky enough to have a wife that stuck with me and fought by my side the whole time, which without her, I couldn't have done it. And, I remember her saying when I was in the rehab facility that she says, "Hey, if you're willing to keep fighting, then I'm willing to keep fighting." And that was big for me. And I think for the first time in my life, too, through all this, is I finally was able to develop a real relationship with God, if that makes sense, and and use Him in my life. And um, I had a different connection, through prayer, and I learned how to meditate, which, my whole life, that was very taboo back then, like meditating was weird, right? Like, no,
Especially in
meditate, what are you, freaking
sports.
monk or something, like, I learned how to be present, which I don't think I'd ever learned how to do that before. And I had to learn how to love Max Hall, the person, the father, the husband, and let go of Max Hall, the football player, because Max Hall, the football player, was my identity.
Yeah.
I don't care. There's so many people that say, your job or what you do, whether you're a football player or you're a real estate guy or whatever it is you do, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer. People say, well, that just has to be something you do. That can't be who you are, right? And I disagree with that, because if you put so much time and passion and energy into something, that's going to become a big part of who you are, right? But I guess the problem is that's all I was focusing on, right? And Max Hall, the football player, was me. And so when that was taken away and my reputation was taken away, that's where I fell. And so having to relearn how to love myself just for who I am and not for being a great football player was a big part of my recovery. And so it was a long road. I had to own it. And yeah, that happened to me. I did it. And but I'm gonna a little bit of the old me is gonna come back and say, but I'm gonna use it for good. And I'm gonna overcome it. And
Love it.
it changed me as a person. Like I became, not that I was self-righteous, but I was judgmental, and I was on a high horse a little bit, and I became a guy who now I feel like I'm not a very judgmental person at all. I'm more understanding, I'm more loving. I'm able to see people more for who they are and not just maybe for some of their mistakes or some of the things that have happened to them in their life. And it's given me a lot of experience in my life to where I can help other people. And it's funny when people know your story and know what you've been through, it's amazing how more um how much easier it is then to open up to you. And
Yeah.
people would come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, dude, I was an alcoholic for so many years, or I did this or I did that." And I'm looking at them like, dude, I would have never have guessed that ever.
Yeah.
And people are more prone to come up to you and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with depression or substance abuse or whatever it is, and what should I do?" And so that's been a cool thing that's come from it, is I've been able to use my experience and my story to give people, you know, I guess some hope that, hey, if Max went through this and he did it, and maybe I can, and maybe I'm not alone, and maybe I do need to swallow my pride a little bit. And so a lot of lessons that I learned through it, and I feel like I'm a better person for it, and I'm a better coach, I'm a better husband, father, and but guys, it's life is still a battle every
Absolutely.
single day, and depression will creep up, anxiety will creep up, fights happen. It's, you know, stress is a big one, and life still smacks you in the face. Um, but there's certain tools that if you learn how to use and keep yourself centered and at peace, and just, hey, yeah, this is going on in my life right now, but I'm going to be okay. Like, everything's going to be okay. I can't freak out because of this stuff. I have to learn how to communicate. I have to learn how to be humble and still hold my own. You know, I love how you guys talk about that with the Zen warrior. You got to be at peace, and but sometimes you got to
Yes.
be able to use the sword, right? A little bit, and go to war in that sense. But I just remember that, remember the lessons that I've learned, and just, you know, I'm still not perfect at everything, and I still make mistakes, and I still get triggered, and I still have issues that I deal with. But I know if I do my daily things and I keep my mind right and stay centered, I can get through it. And so it's been a long journey, but you know, I'm not a big day counter or a year counter, but I think it's 9 years now, 9.5 years since that happened, that I've been sober. And but I tell people all the time, I don't care, because what I care about is right now, today,
Yeah.
and staying sober today. And there's that cliche, one day at a time, but I'm like, you know, a lot of people boast, oh yeah, I've got 15 years sober. Well, who cares, right? Be
Yeah.
sober today, be a good person today, and then we'll worry about tomorrow doing the same thing. So,
Yeah.
um, anyway, that's my
Dude, I love
story.
this, bro. So powerful, man. Like,
Yeah.
dude, like the authentic, what you just described towards the end, like there's so much we can unpack. And
Seriously, we
we're,
get hold of.
yeah, which we don't have time for that. And I, again, just tell you, thank you for being so real and raw and authentic, because
Yeah.
authenticity, which is the highest level of vibration in the universe,
Mhm.
being raw, being real. And the culture that we were raised in
Yes, all of us.
it lacks that, right? It actually a lot of times is on the counter opposite side of the spectrum, which is shame and guilt and
Which is
covering up,
the
and it's the
lowest.
opposite end. It's the lowest level vibration, right? And so but the fact that we, because as you talk through your life experience, while we've both, and you and I have had offline conversations about this, very different experiences, but like I can resonate with every single thing that you said on that spectrum of lowness of life, and having been raised as a warrior in every aspect, and then finding moments of like, dude, I don't even know like where I'm at. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to continue on. Like, this is like, it's too painful. This is too, and that's, but to be able to be raw and real, and know that people of your caliber that have done the things that you have done, and that, and you know, are where you are, that you're willing to say, yeah, dude, this is who I am, and I own it. And you're you know, I would love for you to give a little shout out of what you're working on, because I love what you're doing, that you're taking this experience and giving
That's
and
what I was
helping,
gonna ask.
and you know, moving the ball forward with, you know, the victory recovery program. And like it's amazing, and we're here to support you, and champion whatever we can champion on that front in your life
Yeah.
as well.
No,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I agree with what you're saying, dude. And you obviously know a lot more about that stuff than I do. But I do believe in energy, and I do believe in, you know, the vibrations that you're talking about, and things that will come into your life if you're putting off the right vibration, and
Mhm.
the blessings that I've gotten in my life as far as opportunities to coach and to give back, and to try to help other people. So that's what I've been trying to do. you know, we're trying to help people through recovery program, which I've been battling with the state with insurance stuff and all that. It's just like, it makes it so hard, but still I have the nonprofit, and, you know, I've been able to speak and do a bunch of stuff, and try to do everything I could to give back and help. And, that's what it's all about. You know, if you're a 12-step person, that step 12 is giving back. And, sometimes helping other people and trying to give back honestly helps me more than it helps them, because it keeps me grounded, and it lets me remember the things that I've been through, and where I don't want to go back to.
Yeah.
And so, but owning it and being real about it, there's power in that for sure, you know, because if I just kept making excuses or kept playing a victim to the whole thing, you know, it would just continue to ruin me.
Yep.
But if
Get
I
back to the
can
same
accept
cycle.
it, right? So it's exactly what you're saying, man. And, so that's what, it's pretty cool with what you're doing. And, you know, I'm not as good as that stuff. I'm not as into, you know what I mean? Like, I do my own meditations and stuff, and I try to keep myself centered, and try to learn. And, you know, I've gotten into the sound bowl therapy stuff that I get
Beautiful,
done
bro.
on me.
Yes.
And, there's things that I do that, at first I didn't want to do, and I'm still hesitant on some of that stuff. And I try to be as open as I can, but I'm really starting to believe that the energy that you have in your life can be self-created, and
Absolutely.
and um and self-talk, self-awareness, and authenticity
Mhm.
is a main part of that. And
Yeah.
so I try to keep myself as centered as I can all the time and do those things. And, um it's seeming to work out, dude. Like, I've been blessed, and I'm happy to be where I'm at. So it's it's been quite the ride, though, you know.
Dude, I love you, brother. I love you. I saw your parents last night at our Little League game. I gave both of them a big hug, and your sister. And
Nice.
dude, as you were telling your story, man, I like my heart, and like I've lived through those emotions with you, dude. Like I literally remember watching that moment happen on TV, and then getting all the backstory of what was going on. And me and my brother Dave, I remember when we came up there to Flagstaff. I don't remember when that was, but as you were kind of going through it. And
Yeah.
um dude, I just have so much love and respect for you, man. I'm grateful for you in my life. I appreciate you being you. And I know that we both have had the experiences we've had leading up until this point in time, and what we're both working on together collectively in our own individual lives that are being brought together right now are for a divine purpose in helping humanity heal their hearts, because there's a lot of trauma out there in this world. There's a lot of people living unauthentically and are living in shame and guilt and fear and putting up a mask, but yet are being eroded in their own ways, right? You
Mhm.
talk about addiction. There's a lot of different types of addiction. Yours was on the forefront, but there's a lot of other types of addictions in life, of consumerism and all the different things that we talk about that are much more, it's much harder to see. But like, there's a lot of people out there that, as they see this, and as you and I continue to have these conversations and continue to collaborate with what we're doing, um, the Almighty is in this, brother. And
Yeah.
I want you to know how grateful I am for you, taking the time to come here and share your heart, man, being raw and real and authentic, dude. And I'm pumped to see everything you're doing over there at ALA, Queen Creek, building
We'll
an
get-
awesome program.
Get C2A out there with those
We do.
kids.
I would love to have like one. So July 4th, we're launching a digital curriculum of the C2 way. And it's finally come to a point where it's like, and I would love to take you through it one-on-one when you got some time in the off season. I know you're kind of like gearing up for the season. I don't know what your schedule's like over the summer, but I'd love to do some one-on-ones with you at the Zen Den, and get you really understanding what it is, because this operating system is not mine, dude. This is from the Almighty, and it's amazing, and it's empowering for these kids to be able to understand and know, how to use very, very, very powerful muscles in their body to be able to overcome the lower energy centers, dude, the limiting beliefs, the thoughts of fear, fight, flight, fear, stress, anxiety, lack of identity, lack of self-confidence, lack of self-control. When you know how to use and engage the muscles of the body to ascend that energy to your heart and your mind, It's next level, dude. It's empowering. So whatever we can do to help and support you and whatever you're doing, man, we're here for you. I love you like a brother.
Man, love you too, guys. I appreciate you having me on, dude. Seriously, it's fun chatting with you, dude. And I love what you're doing. It's much needed. Working with kids every day. It is
Amen.
much needed. So
Much needed.
kudos to you guys and what you guys are doing. So yeah, I
Thank
want to get out there and check it out, dude. I do have a crazy freaking summer and football's about to start and all that, but
I'm
I'm gonna
gonna it'll happen
I
whenever.
promise you, we'll figure out a time and
Whenever it works, dude. No rush on any of it. It'll happen whenever it's supposed to happen.
see if
But
you can fix this crazy
a-
brain of mine, you know what I mean?
yes,
Samurai.
absolutely, bro.
Samurai. Okay, guys.
Hey man, love you, dude. Appreciate you. Thanks again
Thank
for
you.
taking the time. Have a great rest of your day, brother.